I think it'll only be like egregious behavior only that's going to cause
Hopefully.
those kind of problems. We'll see, because that's going to be unautomated anyway, so it'll have to be like manual bans. So I imagine
Yeah.
it'll only be the worst people that get reported, in every raid for abusing other people and all this kind of stuff. I can't imagine that it'll really matter for most people. Yeah, yeah. If you're blasting, I don't even know what out of the speaker. I mean, I really hope, right, because this.
Let's get the juicy stuff. Come on, let it out. Welcome to ScavTalk, an escape from Tarkov podcast, so we continue to focus on development of the game, patch note analysis, theory crafting, and general gameplay discussions. My name is Church. I'm one of your hosts. I'm a video editor for a Tarkov content creator named Airwing Marine.
I'm GigaBeef, a YouTuber helping you guys get better at the game, and apparently posting on Reddit these days just means that everybody goes, the guide maker himself is here, which is actually kind of cool, but at the same time, it's also a bit strange for me in some ways. I don't know. I just find it a bit weird. But welcome to the show, everyone. After that long and delayed intro, how are you, Church? How's it going?
It's going good, man. Going good. I've been streaming a bit more, playing a bit more, and yeah, it's cool.
That's
been good. Staying busy.
Nice.
Staying busy. Working
Excellent. Yeah, I caught you streaming just before this. I was in your chat watching you run around with the KS, having a good time.
Don't tell any of my chat friends. Shh. They'll disown me.
Chat friends. Exactly. Yeah, man. Look, it's been there's not been a great deal going on in Tarky World, but I feel with the dailies, it's kind of I don't know. It incentivizes me to try and fit small game sessions in around the things I can do, which is kind of cool. Like today, I had there's a few random things that happened, which we could touch on them later. But just like today, it was like, oh, kill 4 PMCs on any map, and so I was just like, right, that's 20 minutes on factory kind of thing. So I'm like, well, this is perfect, and I've kind of been getting back into the swing of feeling comfortable, because I'm never really out of the swing with Tarkov. It's just kind of the way that I am. But when time pressures come down the line, and when I get back into it, I'm just like, man, I feel so rusty and so weird. And even on maps that, unless I'm going customs or something, if I'm on, I don't know, even some maps that I like, and I'm just like, oh, things just feel kind of bad. So I was like, right, let's just go back and do some factory. I've done a lot more factory this week, and I've kind of avoided it because of historically how long I've spent playing that map. And not that I'm any pro or anything, but I'm probably on balance better at factory than I am at the other maps. Generally, but it's it's a different type of game style and gameplay in some ways. But I was like, no, I just need to go back in, just get back into the comfort zone of killing people and just feeling good about stuff, making decisions and feeling good about it. Whereas in a lot of other places, if you don't play for a while, or if you don't play that map for a while, especially, then you can come back thinking oh, I'm not sure, and it ends up being a bit strange. So that's actually been a good time. It's honestly been a good time. So yeah, today cleaned up the four kills. So one of the catalysts for this was I was going to go through this later, but and we could talk about it a bit later. But basically, I've had lots of scav kills for my weeklies.
Yeah.
So I guess on to weekly number 3, and it's yet more scav kills. But the last one was, I think I said last time, it was 60 scavs on factory in the thorax and the stomach. So that was interesting, because it's how exactly do you meet 60 scavs in factory without dying or getting through PvP? So that was kind of cool, because it sort of made me try and play around it a little bit. It was more interesting in a broad sense than the customs one, which I said last time I just basically hid in the corner and then came out at the end,
right?
Which was great for multitasking with other stuff, which is fine. But the factory one's just that ain't gonna work really. There's no way that you can just sit. There's nothing you can do. So it was kind of cool strategizing for that. But yeah, it was good fun. So I've actually been enjoying myself. It's been decent.
So what was your strategy then for the kill scavs on factory?
So that one was not it wasn't just do nothing. It depended, actually. It depended whether I was feeling in the mood for kind of a more spice, not like a spicy raid, but it depended whether I wanted to be geared or not. And I tried a few different things, and I ended up settling on kind of like two different types of raids. Either raids where I was kind of PvP focused at the beginning, and I went in with like my like staple M4 that I use, which has actually ended up giving me like another idea for a video of just like what M4 do I actually use, which is kind of cool. So it's kind of like my you know semi min maxy value M4. It's like good enough, but like it's not it's not nothing too expensive, whatever. So I was like using that, and then like the tequila rig, which is a good time and going around killing people, which was kind of fun. And then like you just basically hang around and like wait until after the
That's what I figured.
10,
Yeah.
8, 7, like 5 minutes. Like I had some raids that were really pretty nuts actually. Did I record how many I got on each one? Actually, I'm not sure if I did. Um, but there was some raids where you end up with just like it's kind of bonkers, right? And like you end up running into like a player scav with like Magnum Buck or something, and like you take
Mm.
like two blasts or whatever, and you're running to rig and your stomach's exposed, and it's just like, oh Jesus, like half your body's black and like the rest of it's red, and you're like, my God. So it can actually get like, it gets quite intense. I actually quite enjoyed it. I had a good fight against two player scouts where like I just like completely messed it up basically, and it was actually the thickest that I went in. And I went in with because I ran out of tequila rigs, couldn't be bothered to buy anything else. So I had like a Hex on and a ULAC and like my M4 and all this stuff, and went in and like pushed this guy super hard and got shot by the other guy with 762 PS, and it just penned straight through the side of the ULAC, which I was like, because I got like head
What?
ears through it, and I was like, man, that kind of sucks. I was like,
Dang.
like PS can pen for, it's just like not super likely.
Really low.
So,
Yeah.
but I was just like, oh well, GG's guys, enjoy the kit, that's fine. And then the other side of it was like level 4, 6P3TM and a Saiga 12 with like what was I? Oh yeah, it was just the 6B, and then 4 magazines of Magnum Buck in the 5 rounders, and that was like my like cheap kit where I was
Hmm.
basically like rather than going after PvP, I was kind of like playing like really defensive in my area, and when people are coming, I'm just like stay back, just like blast them and like see if I can get them to go away. So I had some fun fights there where because you only got 5 shots plus one,
Yeah.
and that was kind of cool. And yeah, just like super cheap kit. Like it doesn't even because you're firing so few rounds. It doesn't. You can just buy like a 55 out of 60 Saiga, and I did not get a jam once doing it because the number of shots you're firing is so low, and it's all percentage based. So it's kind of whatever. And then when you're fighting scavs later on, you're just like one tap, because most of them aren't wearing armor. And you still have the chance of hitting them in the face. And yeah, between the two of them, it's quite good. And I got like a message from some random guy being like, "Hey, I got like kill the guy with your tag name on like down in the tunnels. He had like a Saiga 12," and I was just like, "Yeah, that's me." Um, which was quite fun. He was just like, "Yeah, you blacked my stomach and stuff." So that was kind of the plan there. And then so that was like two sets of weeklies. And then so it was like 60 scav kills with headshots, right? 60 scav kills with chest and thorax.
Hmm.
Sorry, thorax and stomach. And then this week I was just like, right, what we got this time? What interesting quest we got this time? And then I was just like, kill 60 scavs anywhere. And I'm like, okay, this is getting kind of easier. This is weird, but it's the same, the same thing over and over again. Which is, it's fine. It's okay. I don't mind really. It's okay. But in some ways that kind of makes it harder because I'm just like, where will I go? I actually don't know where I'm going to go this time to like
Yeah.
maximize the scavs. I'm not sure. I guess I could do a combo of either like if I'm well, the other two strategies, if I'm busy doing stuff, then I can just like sit around and wait in customs and then get like 15 scav kills on my way out as I just like go through the map. Because it's one of those ones where you just like go somewhere. Customs is kind of weird because there's not actually necessarily a clear place to like sit always because it's
Hmm.
quite tight actually. It's surprising. Like someone like Woods and Shoreline is easy to just like chill and not do anything. But customs is yeah, it's surprisingly difficult to find somewhere where people don't find you.
Yeah.
But then once they do, then once you've like they've all cleared out, then you're just kind of like, well, go to Big Red, go across the river, go to the bit by the tank, go up to construction, and then across and like through the other construction to the Fortress Stronghold, gas station, up and like once there's nobody there, it's really quite full of scavs. I found so.
Mm.
Yeah, it can be quite cool. It can be quite cool, but it's good. It's incentivizing me to play. Actually, I like how actually having these little goals. It's good, and it's like, how am I going to fit this around?
I'm kind of experiencing the same thing. It's like,
Hmm.
I mean, it depends what dailies I get. I have two kind of felt like they've been getting slightly easier,
Hmm.
more open ended, which is interesting because I've definitely done some, not all of them. Like if I have like, I think I have one like turn into cigarettes and some other like random item that was going to be hard to find. Like I'd have to like RNG a lot. I can't remember what
Yeah.
it was, but I didn't accept that one. And a couple of them I have accepted and like not had the time to do, but the ones that I have done, yeah. So I don't know. It's kind of weird because I feel like they have sort of gotten a bit easier. Like my weekly. So last week my weekly was, what was it? I think it was kill 20 scavs in the stomach or thorax, and I think it was on any map. And then before that, it was survive. Again, this is weekly. It was survive customs 28 times, which was like that was a
Oh, yeah.
grind. So then it got easier because I mean 20 scavs head or stomach, like that's super easy. And then now I'm on survive 9 snore line raids, which is like 60% reduction from like the 28 of um customs or whatever. Like it's
Yeah.
pretty major. So I don't know, because I thought as you complete them, they got like it adapted, like it got harder. So it's kind of
That was supposed to
interesting.
be the case. Yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting. It could just be the they may just have like a variable range, and it's like a sliding range as you. So maybe I just got lucky on some of these things. But like the ones that are like dailies, it's like kill 5 scavs on woods in the leg. I'm just like from 50 meters away. I'm just like, no, I'm sorry, not today, Jaeger. Not today, Jaeger. No, just like, I'm gonna pass on that one because
Yeah.
I
Exactly.
just can't be bothered to sit there. Like, okay, 50 meters away. Okay, aim at the leg. It's like, oh, I can't see his leg because he's behind the bush. It's just like, yeah.
Yeah.
So, the one tangent thing I wanted to say was with the shotgun you're talking about, your 60% durability in the jams. I
Mm.
wonder if because they have a accuracy debuff, like the MOA that's like hidden, I wonder
Mhm.
how that works for shotguns. Does it treat it as like the cone of the pellets going down range, or is it the cone of each individual pellet? Because if it's the cone of each individual pellet, that might be a buff in some cases.
Yeah, because you'd imagine that it would be the actual like center of the cone, you would imagine,
Right.
but like how it's coded, I'm not sure. You could imagine something slips in that way. I don't feel like it is. I feel like maybe we would have seen that if that was the case, but
Hmm.
you never know. You
Yeah.
never know. You genuinely never know.
Be interesting.
Um, yeah. But yeah, I mean, this week there's not been a massive amount of stuff, right? There's been a
Yeah.
few a few bits and pieces. But I guess like yeah, the GP coin event finished, which we didn't actually talk about the previous week. I think I don't know what your take was on it, but I think it's pretty much a non-event because I didn't use it for anything, and the GP coins shot up to their marginal price, and that was it. So
Yeah.
unless you had loads of them and you hung on to them, then didn't make any difference as
There
far as
was
I'm
some
concerned.
pretty decent. There's a few like break even or save money barters.
I
I,
didn't really look at it properly, if I'm honest.
yeah, it's fair enough. I mean,
I looked at a
it's
few, I think,
okay.
and I was just like, "Oh, that's a lot." I was like, "7?" Like, "Oh, that's a lot, right? For 7 times 50, that's a lot of rubles." I'm like, whatever.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. There's a few niche ones, but I think the cool part of it was that the apparently scavs, raiders, and like especially Reshala guards were dropping GP coins like crazy. So
Oh,
it was
okay,
like,
fine.
yeah, there was a little bit of like a in raid incentive to like go and do these activities. That I kind of like that a bit. Um,
Hmm.
but yeah,
Yeah.
we didn't really talk about it much. Kind of passed over, and it was kind of a an okay event. But there is something coming this Saturday, tomorrow, which is exciting.
Yes.
Have you
This is.
seen
I
the
mean,
post?
we have no idea what this is going to be.
Right.
I guess we just like. I just like. There's a set of text messages on what iMessage or something. I'm not an Apple person, but it
Yeah, I
looks
think it
like
is. I'm yeah.
iMessage or something like that.
Yeah.
And Bake Easy says, this is the translation. Have you spotted anything weird about these reports on vodka? Yeah, cool thing. However, I haven't understood what the deal is at first. Yeah, the first time is get the hang of it quickly, so got to do everything quiet. I visited your traders, Soplia. They said all the recent good available for golden coins was removed from sale. Now only old stuff is available. They say GP coin is not worth it anymore. Info is old, it seems. All right, whatever. Is everything still on this Saturday? So who knows? Who knows what that means? No one seems to know. Even Nice Guy doesn't know what this means. So, if he doesn't know, then none of us stand a chance, I don't think.
Interesting. I didn't
Lots of people are just
realize.
like, maybe wipe. And everyone's
Yeah.
like, no, it's not wipe.
Surely it's a
Come on.
meme,
Come on,
right?
wipe. And Pestily's like Translation Thursday, obviously.
Yeah, of course.
But no, I just like, there's no way it's a wipe. There's just no chance, I don't think.
I don't
I
think
don't know
so
what this is
either.
going to be. I really don't know what this is going to be. And it literally could be anything. It could just be like
Right.
another event. It could be something that builds upon the Halloween thing. I think they would have said that you'd have to be in raid at a certain time, but maybe another announcement will come out on Saturday, like along with timings. I don't know. I think that's unlikely as well. I think it's probably just another raid, another event of some kind that happens.
Yeah,
Um,
it's interesting because they reference vodka, which presumably that's the vodka event where it's like, I think the lore was like it was a bad shipment or a bad batch from a certain warehouse or a tampered with batch, and then there's the GP coin thing was mentioned also. Which I guess that's saying like, hey, it's gonna end soon, but I don't know. What?
yeah.
Yeah, interesting.
Yeah, the vodka thing, I'm not sure what the link is. I'm sure it will all
Right.
become clear, but I don't know what that link is because yeah, what was this? Because the vodka event previously, it was like you might just die, right? If you had a
I
load of
think it
like,
was basically the Abadabalos stem, but it's a
yeah,
vodka drink, basically, in a nutshell.
yeah, kind of, yeah. So who knows exactly what that means? Maybe the vodka will be good this time. Maybe it'll be something as simple as that. You
Hmm.
never know, but it'll be interesting to see. I mean, I really can't speculate. It's very hard to know because there's
Yeah,
just
it's
such little
really, yeah,
information.
yeah.
It makes it really
Um,
tricky to even know. And then the only other thing which I had noted myself is the from the EFT beta announcer, which was Dear Escapers, thanks to our Discord community, which has been growing to like 280,000 users. We want to give back or something starting today. I guess this is kind of too late for most people listening, I guess. It's like 24 hours of quizzes and challenges about Escape from Tarkov. You get to win codes for the in-game items. The harder the question, the bigger the reward. So you have to like look through the Discord and like see questions, like hidden questions posted by VSG staff or something, and then like be the first person to like message staff with the right answer, then you get a code for something. I was like, it's a bit random, but that's fine, that's okay. But like, I'm not going to sit in the Discord waiting for questions to appear and
yeah.
try and answer them as quickly as possible. I don't think, but it's kind
What?
of cool. It's kind of a cool idea.
I didn't understand codes. Is codes like game codes, or is codes like redeem and get like a Red Rebel code? Like, what do we?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I think so. So it says that you get to win codes for in-game items, and then you
Okay.
on the actual Discord itself, it says you go to like a particular thing with like / redeem, I think, and then
Hmm.
you put the thing in, and I guess it credits your account with something. I suppose maybe similar to Twitch drop. I'm not 100% sure, but
Yeah, I
that was the way
gotcha.
that I interpreted it. But who knows really? I don't know how many they're doing or how many they're giving out. Maybe we'll find out. I don't know, but it's one of those ones where like it seems unlikely that any of the kind of big creators will maybe be even participating. So we might just not really find out what's going on
Yeah.
until a lot later.
Yeah. They could do a lot with this type of stuff though. This seems like they're testing the waters a bit, but I could totally see them like, because I think even in the past they've done like, oh, you like go to this URL address and it's like a screen like that. What, I don't know. They're one of their like assets they use. It's like a television screen that's got like some type of logo, kind of like the fence artwork theme stuff. But anyhow, I could totally see them doing stuff like that, like how Microsoft or Bungie did way back in the day, or like you go like you take this code and then it's like a GPS coordinates and you go to the place and then you go find the code and then you put it online and you're like the winner of some prize, right? That seems very right up VSG's alley.
Well, I think before we started playing, they used to do this kind of stuff because you can find it all over the
Yeah.
wiki about like the ARRS thing with fence and like when the game was getting teased or whatever, and you could go and like crack the
Yes.
code. There's like cryptography and all sorts of stuff involved. So like they've definitely done it in the past. So I wouldn't put them past doing this kind of thing again in the future. Like it would actually be. I don't know how they would do it, but it'd be really sick to have some kind of like what's it called? It's not AR. It's not really AR. It's like like geocaching, like Pokemon Go or something. Or you like incorporate
Hmm.
the real world into something. It's not virtual reality. It's not really augmented reality either. Something else. There's a phrase for it. I can't remember what it is off the top of my head, but that kind of stuff is kind of cool. I don't know. I'm sure they could do something with it. But
Yeah.
yeah, Yes, it's neat. It's not. I don't really use their Discord for much, if I'm honest, because
Hmm.
I am only in it because of like looking for group stuff. Like way back in the day when like everybody that I ever knew quit the game, and I ended up playing by myself. And then I realized that it was just easier to play solo than it was to try and team up with a group of random like four people who just want to sit in factory and five man it, which was kind of the extent of my like official Discord LFG experience. It was a good time. Yeah, it was okay, but I didn't feel like I was really getting any better.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
I stopped getting involved with that and just did solo raids instead. Back in the days of being scared, you said something actually on your stream which made me laugh a lot, which was about when you're a new player and like you're sat there in the all of us like experienced guys who've just been playing for a while and you're like in the loading screen, you're like doing something else or whatever. But like when you're first starting to play, the game's like so intense and you've like spent so long on your kit and you're just sat there like waiting and the ambient noise is on and you're like and I think what did you say, like just like a bullet of sweat just like trickles down your face as the like things saying like loading loopholes, and you're like, oh god, oh god. Oh, I remember those days. Like that really like hit a chord with me. Like it struck me
It's real, dude.
properly. I was like, I just had proper flashbacks to like loading in with my like AC, what was it called, like ACH HC helmet or something,
Hmm.
and an
Hmm.
MP5. Was it MP5 S? I think it was an MP5 SD or that I had from someone else. It was like one of my best kits. I had an SV98, an MP5 SD, and like one of those helmets. I can't remember what armor I even had, to be honest. And I was like, this is the most geared I've ever been, like going into shoreline, like creeping around, like super tactical. Like it was
Yes,
honestly,
yes.
oh, it was so different back then. It's so
Oh, it
weird.
was,
Like
man.
the whole feeling of it was so different. And even just like having the things in your stash, like it was, I think that kind of contributes towards gear fear a lot in some ways because you're so like each item in your stash feels so like it's almost like now it's like I look at it and it's like a paper screen with stuff on it. Whereas like back then it's almost like the items were like 3D and like real and like each item was like as you moved
Yeah.
it around it like makes a satisfying like sounds and stuff. And it felt so much more kind of like I don't want to lose this stuff. Whereas now, yeah, I
Yeah.
think you get over that loss after a while, and then it's just kind of like the things in your stash, and you're like, well, they're kind of temporary. Like this is stuff, all of this stuff is going to turn over in the next like month anyway, so
Yeah.
it doesn't really matter. But like, yeah, that feeling, I don't know, it's irreplaceable to be honest.
It
But
really
yeah, when you
is,
said that
man.
about like loading in, I was like, God, I've been there. And you're just like you're so like just before, like it's like your heart's going, and you're like, oh, why do I feel nervous? It feels as if you're about to go on stage and like deliver a speech to like 100
Yeah,
people.
dude. Yeah.
Nuts, nuts, actually
Especially
nutty.
once the deploying thing kicks in, it's like, oh my God, this is it. You're walking
Yeah,
up to the microphone at this point.
exactly.
Yeah.
And it's like 20 seconds before you're about to receive Russian misery, and you're just like, I'm ready, Papa Nikita, I'm ready. No, it's good. It's good. I'm not really sure what got us onto that, but what else happened? Oh yeah, the game was actually down quite a bit. There was I was going to record a whole load of stuff, and I did the first little bit, and then it was just like back end error, like everything closed, and then it was just like it was done for the day for us. I don't know if it came back in US hours, but like, it was like 11:30, and the game was still down, and I was like, well, I'm just going to go to bed to be honest, because I'm not going to wait around for this. It could be a long time. Um, so there's been, there was some stability problems in the week, and I didn't even notice this actually. It was I think it was from Airwing who said, oh, even he tweeted out and said even the BSG website's down as well actually,
Yeah, I did see
um,
this.
which I hadn't noticed because I hadn't really. I was like tried to log in and I'm just like, oh, okay, something's happening, so whatever, and I just sort of left it. I was getting on with other stuff, and people saying, oh, the site's down, and I was like, okay, maybe this is more serious. And then other people were saying that it was like Cloudflare and that it wasn't their fault. They couldn't do anything about it and
Hmm.
whatever. So I don't know, but it's a bit of stability issues, I guess.
There is some odd stuff going on because I did notice like the game was down for practically the whole evening on the in the US, I guess. And then even like today, like couple times during the day I was having issues like with the menus being unresponsive, and like today I logged on and I was trying to buy some cords and it was just like freezing, and then I tried to accept insurance and just froze, and eventually I got like a back end error. But I don't know what. Yeah, it's a lot of. There's been a lot of. I think like 4 or 3 different like patches. Like one day I think they patched like 3 times it felt like
Oh, you reminded me. They patched 3 times. Did you see? Did you
Mhm.
see the bug that they introduced and patched it again in like 3 minutes? Because everyone was
No.
like, "Oh
Oh,
my God!"
oh, I
Where
did.
they managed to turn off some or like de-link or break the link between the
Hmm.
exfil helmet. I don't know whether it was all face shields or whether it was just that one, but that was the one that I saw. I think it might have been all visors, and the no assets model and skin in Tarkov is the yeah the cube with the dope face. And yeah, it was had like Big Easy like running around backwards with like, the big like dough cube on his face and stuff. And it was just like hilarious. I thought it was super funny, but I think they patched that straight away. But that just made me laugh so much.
Hmm.
Honestly, that made me laugh so much. I love that that's like the missing texture thing.
Yeah.
I was talking to some people about it, and they were like, "Oh, at least it's not the purple and black like Source Engine like missing
Yeah,
texture. At
yeah.
least it's something. At least it's something funny. It's really obvious when there's something wrong. To be fair."
Yeah, yeah.
So that was, I think, the one where they patched it like multiple times in a day. It's even better, like if you have the, like the hand guard is broken or something, and then it's just like here's a normal gun, and it's just like the cube of memes, and then it's like, oh, and then the barrel continues at the other end. It's it just, it just makes my day every time. Honestly, it
Yeah.
makes me laugh every time. It never gets old for me. It never gets old. But yeah, I imagine a lot of this stuff is like maybe they're tweaking things, and it's like the new Unity, and they go, okay, let's put this out, and then something breaks. Okay, all right, new patch. Da, da, da. I reckon they're probably tweaking a lot of stuff for 2019 just to see. And
Hmm.
I'm trying to report as many bugs as I can to them on like double audio glitching and stuff. I
I was
mentioned
gonna
it last time,
say,
but
how
I'm
is
trying to
that
report things.
has that changed at all for you? Or are you still having
I,
that?
I didn't get it again. It was only one in like 6 raids or something. Um, and
Hmm.
I haven't had it a second time so far, but I haven't played any of the big maps really. I've played customs and factory almost exclusively, so I haven't really been on shoreline or any of the others. And it was shoreline where I was getting the problem. So I don't know. I don't, is my honest answer. I'm not sure, but I did report it to them, and they said, thanks for the submission. Closing the ticket means that the issue has been logged and acknowledged, not that it has been repaired. And I was like, that's fine. We can close the ticket. It's all right. Just letting you know. Um, but I'm sure there's like lots of people who are having various like performance drops and stuff like that. It was weird with the FPS thing. It was almost as if two sort of services or whatever. Like I don't really know how the game is structured, but like it's almost like the audio service was playing twice or something and like causing
Hmm.
havoc, like having to render everything twice. But yeah, there's some people like actually I can see in chat some people saying that the sounds on Factory has been really bad since Unity 2019. Like Factory for me has actually been okay, but some people are saying there's audio issues and stuff as well.
It's so
But
weird
mm,
that there's so many different variations. I mean, of course, you have like things like hardware and software versions. Like people
yeah,
be on
it's
different
weird. It's so
versions of
different though.
Windows, and yeah. So I don't think I've experienced any audio issues that are, you know, how do I say this? That
Out of the
normally,
ordinary.
yes. Thank you. So I don't know. I don't know,
Yeah,
but we
just
shall see
indeed,
in the
indeed.
coming days.
So yeah, I think that was it for kind of like updates and stuff, things that have happened, whatever. Um, I don't think there's much else. It's been light-ish. There's some stuff, but it's sort of light-ish, and everyone's waiting for the next
Hmm.
patch. And in the meanwhile, we just do our thing and enjoy daily quests and stuff. Last time you wanted to talk about the video that I did, and we could talk about that now if you want, or later, unless you got something else to say.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I forget which one of our videos, but there was like a bunch of comments that a lot of nice things were said. And the common thing I kept seeing was like, God, you guys should advertise more. And I was like, yes, I know. You're absolutely right. We should. Um, and it's yeah, because it was interesting because we got retweeted by John B
Oh, yeah.
on Twitter. He retweeted the tweet I put out, which was like a snippet of the show, and then Battle State Games retweeted it, which is really cool. And but yeah, I just wanted to say, thanks for. I try to read all the comments, and it's always nice to hear the nice things you guys say. And I would like to in the coming year to really grow the podcast, and I was wondering, I think some of my favorite shows, at least, is when we have guests on, because it's always interesting to hear different people's perspectives. Everyone's got a story to tell, right? So one of the things I like to try to do is have a guest on like every other week, instead of once a month. And that'd be really cool to do, and hopefully you guys like that as well. I don't know.
I'm sure people like the guest ones. I'm sure they do.
Yeah.
It's fun. It's just like, there's enough people, I suppose, out there. It's a case of getting organized and cracking on with it, and getting people on, because it's always good having people on. Like I always enjoy our guest casts.
Yeah, for sure.
Right, they're very, as you say, everyone's got different perspective and stuff. So it's awesome to hear from people, especially people who are kind of doing something a bit different as well, like John B and those kind of guys. It's awesome.
Yeah.
It's awesome.
I like to have him on again, because there's so many more things I want to ask him about, like his new player experience. Because I mean, dude, going from not PC gaming to PC gaming, and then on top of that, you're going into Tarkov. I mean, Tarkov ain't no ordinary first-person shooter by any means. Like, dude, like half your keyboard is bound to something. You know what I mean? It's a pretty crazy game. But yeah. The other thing I was going to say too is I like to hear from you guys as well, the listeners. And we have on our Anchor site, there's a feature that you can send us a message. And if you have any topic suggestions, or maybe you want to talk about some of your daily quests or weeklies that you got, that'd be interesting to see, because I've seen some pretty ridiculous ones. In fact, Slade, and shout out to Slade in the Discord, the ScavTalk Discord, he has like survived, I think it was like 3 labs raids or something for a daily, and he was like, well, I guess I'm gonna do this now.
Yeah, some of the dailies are pretty fun. So yeah, no, like if anybody wants to ask any questions or anything like that, then like, yeah, do feel free to reach out through Anchor. It's I've not actually used it myself, but I don't think it's too difficult. You go on and you can submit a question there, and then yeah, we can feature some more comments and stuff on the cast. I know we did it one time. Went through about like 4 or something, but yeah, the more the merrier.
Yeah, for sure.
Everyone's welcome to try and post something. That'd be cool. Definitely be cool. Definitely up for that.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, I love doing this, man. It's fun, but I want to try to grow it in a way that is not necessarily about you or me. Maybe you don't feel the same, and you'll be like, Church, what the heck, dude? this is my show. No. But I just I like talking about the game, and I'm sure people, there's, again, appreciate the kind words that people say about us, like, but yeah, I would love to just have, I mean, one of the things I want to do is I just want to have a list of like all the people, like the dream people, and I'm just gonna put all the people I want to try to invite on the show, and just like nail it out and see what happens, man. Like, I'm talking even BSG, Nikita, BSG employees, whoever, Pastilli, like we're going balls to the wall, baby. And I'm excited. But
sounds great. Church definitely, you're definitely more like the brains behind the operation, I would say. I just,
we're doomed.
I tried to do what I need to do, but yeah, look, we'll see. We'll see how it pans out. We'll see how it pans out.
Yeah.
I think 2022 is going to be pretty cool, so let's watch the space. I've got to watch this space. I actually had a labs survival daily.
Did you?
I did, and it ended up being quite funny, because I had one labs survival daily before, and I did the same thing as I did that time, which was close my eyes and open them very slightly and sprint to the sewer, turn the thing on, wait for 7 minutes, and then leave, right?
Yeah.
So I had that previously, and I did that once. And then this time, I sprinted there, turned the thing on, waited around, heard a funny noise to my left-hand side after like 2 minutes of just like chilling in the end bit. And there's a dude with a pistol and like starts firing at me from behind the little gas canister things. And I was like, oh no, this guy. But I was like, I don't really want to kill him particularly because we're just getting up in a fight to the death. And to be honest, like I had my my hatchet running rig, which was basically 6v3 TM and a Saiga 12. So I was like, this guy's just going to instantly die if we have a firefight here. And I feel kind of bad for him. So I was just like spamming voice lines, just like moving my head around, like whizzing around. And in the end, he got his Red Rebel out and just started like hitting stuff. And we made friends and we both extracted, and it was a nice story. But he hit me in the Ratnik helmet and bounced off with one of them, and I was just like, oh boy, like glad I brought the helmet with me, like the minimum viable kit kind of thing. Yeah, doing it 3 times, I'm not sure if I could be bothered to do that because that costs like, well, now it's a bit cheaper, 400k or something.
It is, but, yeah. Well, it's even cheaper now. There's the labs are going for 100k from therapists. I don't know if it's a new selling. Cheaper. Yeah,
it's a lot cheaper than it was. But yeah, I don't know. So like doing it once, I didn't mind too much. But that was kind of funny because they had this like weird interaction with this guy, and I was like, I just wish VoIP was in the game, you know?
Yeah,
I really wish VoIP was in the game. Because I'd have been like, dude, it's a daily, I'm here for the daily. Like, no, stop firing your pistol. It was crazy. Like he hit around the corner, like, oh my god. I was in the tunnel just like sprinting backwards and forwards, up and down, shaking my head around, just going like F1, 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 and eventually I ran out of bullets and I just turned up and was just like, I'm not gonna kill you, like it's fine. Oh.
Yeah, out of pure fear of the other person and not being able to communicate. It's just like you don't, the other guy doesn't want to die, so what, it's just like, yeah.
It's exactly right. It's the prisoner's dilemma kind of thing. It's like if neither of you kill each other, actually to be fair, there's no reward for the betrayal in this case, so it's slightly easier because it's like we either both win or one of us wins. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, I mean, you get the loot that he has.
I guess. Yeah. I
guess. That pistol. Fat loot.
It was funny because we were clearly both there for the same reason, and he clearly had the same idea as me. He's just like, I'm going to run to sewers. And like when I turned, because I was quite late actually, because I took a wrong turning and ended up going down the wrong corridor. Because sometimes there's like those 2 parallel corridors in labs that I always get confused.
Yeah,
one like connects to the med, and then one that connects to the next section. And so I took a bit longer to get that. I'm actually amazed I didn't run into anybody because I ran from, what would it be? I don't, because I don't really know the call outs in labs, but the staircase with the cargo elevator.
Yeah,
that one. I started halfway up that and ran to sewer from there and met literally no one, which I was quite surprised about actually. And taking a wrong turn and ended up down in like the med elevator and had to go back and then go through and found nobody. And so I turned up like 3 minutes into the raid or something. This dude must have just been like sat behind the pipes, just like. Oh, no. And it was like I was genuinely there for like I went in, I pulled the thing, like turned the thing on because he hadn't turned it on. I think he was gonna like wait for it because he didn't want anyone to know that he was there or something. So I turned it on. I like went up to the tunnel and just was like waiting for somebody, just like And then like a minute and a half in, I could just hear this like shuffle on my right hand side, and this guy just opens fire with like a Makarov. It was terrifying. It was terrifying, but that was just funny. Yeah, just because you mentioned about like the labs. Leaving labs, so that was the easiest way because it's like I didn't really want to play a proper labs raid, but
I feel you.
It's just you can crab around in labs, but I don't know, I'm just like I just get killed when I meet anybody seriously if I'm just running around like I would normally, so it's okay, but you can go in and you have to spend a lot longer being very careful. I find if you're not very good at it, you have to be much more cautious, careful, slow play, and then half the time somebody hears like the toothpick dropping on the ground and they know exactly where you are and you get predated 5 times and then you get MDR through like a door or something. And that's even when you're not up against somebody who's got an RGB gaming chair. So, because the people that just legitimately can do that. Yeah, no, it's a time.
I'm kind of what I'm about to say, we've talked about plenty of times, so I won't force you to hit the fast forward button, but it's interesting because when VoIP comes in, it is going to be easier to communicate, right? And one of the things I saw back when they were taking suggestions on the EFT Discord for daily quests, I was looking through them and a lot of them, are basically what we have now, or were versions of the previous one. There were some interesting ones. One of them that was interesting that I saw was survive a raid by taking a scav, a duo extract. What are they called? Scav extracts? I don't know. What would you call them?
Yeah, like the scav extract. Yeah, the combo extract. What are they
Yeah,
called? Are they called something? Are we both having a crazy mind blank? I don't even know what's
I
going
don't
on.
know. But you know what I mean. The one where you got a PMC and a scav got to pair up, and then it was like
Yeah.
within that same quest, now do it again, but do it as the opposite role. And I was like, okay, that's kind of interesting, because it's something different. And then I thought about some more, and I was like, God, now that I think about it, what if like you go in and it's like, anybody else got the daily where they gotta like extract this scav? Like, I'm over here, bro. Come to me. And it's just like you almost make it like so easy to like gamify it and
Yeah.
like take advantage of the systems. It's kind of interesting.
Mm-hmm.
And then what you were saying with like the pistoling and labs, if you were just like, bro, chill, I got the daily. It's like, oh, I got the daily too. It's like, yeah, let's work. If it's almost like if it's two, it's kind of nice to have that conflict at times, but if it becomes so like, and this I don't think it's related to VoIP. I think it's just like sort of with like how the dailies are structured, if you will. I don't know.
Yeah.
It'd be interesting to see how it develops further in the future and if it becomes Omega gamified. I don't
Yeah.
know if it will, because it is you're still gonna have to trust the other, like, man, early wipe hits. God, okay, let me just lay the foundation real quick. Wipe drops, VoIP's introduced, right? It's gonna be crazy, man. I don't think
It is.
it's gonna be cutthroat in my opinion, because
Mhm.
dude, PMC gotta eat. You know what I'm saying?
Early wipe is super cutthroat.
Yeah. So
People don't be dropping no kits early wipe. I tell you that. You know.
so I think it's gonna be really hard to work together, which I think that might be a good thing, and it's gonna open up
I'm
a
just
lot
trying to get
of
the water for therapist. Leave me alone. You're just like getting
yeah.
bombarded in 206, just like grenaded.
But see, you could be like, okay, drop your bag. Let me see your bag. Like, drop your gun. You tell them to drop everything. Maybe you take the gun, you search them. But then it's like, do I give them a gun back? Because if I give them, like, dude, in Tarkov especially, one bullet to the ear, to the eye, I mean, shoot,
Mm.
7 bullets to the leg and you're dead. You know what I mean? So it's like, you gotta be
Yep.
careful what you do there. Maybe you give them, like, one mag. I don't know, dude. That's like, it's gonna be so difficult, man. I'm excited, but it's gonna be really interesting.
It's gonna be good. It's gonna mix it up a bit. I think it's gonna be cool. It's
Yeah.
just adds an extra layer. I think it'd be.
Oh,
I
for
think it'd be
sure.
good. So yeah, adding that extra interaction of potential and more betrayal in some ways too. I found like when I only did a little bit of VoIPing in the cycle, but when I did, as soon as
Hmm.
somebody's like, if you're like somewhere and you hear someone and you're like, oh, and then someone's like, hey bro, hey, how's it going? And you're like, I feel like the tension has been kind of broken now in some ways. Like it's less like, am I being hunted? Did they hear me or whatever? It's like you now know that they heard you. They know where you are.
Yeah.
But it also made me feel a lot less like I want to just jump out and headshot them. I was like, oh, I kind of feel like now there's like an actual human voice associated with this character.
Sure.
It's like I found it, maybe it's just me, but I found it harder to think like I'm now just going to suddenly like mad swing on this guy and just like belt him while he's coming around the corner. So I don't know. It might make people more humane. Could make people. I think you're going to get things on both ends. So
Yeah,
I don't know.
absolutely. Absolutely.
We'll
It's
see.
it's gonna be great. I've been watching a Rust YouTuber recently called Stimpy, and oh my god, dude, his thumbnails, I won't describe them, but you have to go check them out because they're just hilarious. But he basically just trolls people in Rust. They'll just troll like, "Hey, bro, how's it going, bro? Oh, I'm just a naked." And then the guy's like, "Oh, let's team up." And then he just kills them. Like, he just trolls people, right? So it's like, I'm thinking, like, one time, one of the videos, it was like, um, a guy was outside his base and he was door camping him, right? And then he was like, the guy was talking. He was like, "Oh man, you're such a loser," just, blah blah blah. He was like taunting him. He was like, "All right, I'm gonna go away now." And then Stimpy says to himself, "What does this kid think I was born yesterday? That's the oldest trick in the book." You know what I mean? It's gonna, when that comes to Tarkov, dude, it's gonna be so great because it's gonna be like, hey man, I'm just trying to get my pocket watch, and you're like a giga chat of like, Slick and like an AK-47. I love stuff like just the human psychology, like sending them to the wolves, so to speak. It's just great, dude. I love it.
Yeah, it's gonna be interesting. I think that kind of thing is like super funny as well because it's kind of like you can do that almost like this. I think that's why it's like kind of good for content creators too because you can do that kind of the almost like the acting thing of like, oh, here's like my public facing, here's what I'm saying, and then it's just like, talking to the audience kind of thing on the side, and it's like it can be super funny. Which would be kind of cool. It's gonna be fun. I mean, yeah. Chad's saying like, how do you think like VoIP will work between the floors? Saying dorms, will we be able to hear someone on first floor, and when you're on third, they won't be able to hear you? This is like these are questions where it's like if it just uses the current audio engine, which I imagine it probably will, then like it might
Probably.
end up being super weird. So I hope that by that point we've got enough stuff in that it kind of makes sense.
Mhm.
Because otherwise, it's going to be a bit like it's going to be a bit strange. Yeah, can you imagine like hearing people above you, but then they can't hear you because you're below them or something anyway? So
Yeah,
well,
that would be
whatever. I don't
really
know.
weird.
I just hope it goes in a sensible way. That's all I can hope for. That's all anyone can hope for. I don't even want to speculate on it. Actually, it makes me feel. I didn't really think about that, and now it's making me feel slightly uncomfortable.
Yeah, I mean it'll be annoying, but that's not necessarily a fault of the VoIP itself, more so just
Exactly.
the audio
Exactly.
issues, yeah. But
Yeah, which they're working on anyway, so we'll see. And they've said that
yeah.
it's a priority, so that's just yeah, just the way, just the way it is, just the way it is. No, it's going to be interesting. I think it's going to be. I do think it's going to be funny in those interactions where like two people are like in rooms next to each other. And it's kind of stalemate now, and people trying to flush each other out with grenades and stuff. Because like people do like voice line at each other already, so it'll be like that,
Yeah.
but just like extra good, just extra good.
Yeah, for sure.
I'm looking forward to it. I'm looking
It'll be
forward to it.
fun.
Yeah.
I really hope that I don't get VoIP bans because if I recall correctly, you can report people for VoIP abuse
I think so.
and they will disable VoIP permanently for you. And I don't know exactly what they mean by VoIP abuse. Like if I start talking like, oh no, PMC Chan, don't come in here. Is that classified as VoIP abuse? Like, am I not role playing enough? Like, am I not in the correct lore role play? You know what I mean? Like, I'm being half serious, but I'm being like also a little facetious at the same time because I'm not. I'm kind of worried like VSG is gonna be like, all right, here's the RP rules, guys. Like, you can like, you know what I mean? I don't know. It's that part's got me a little worried.
Yeah, I think because it's gonna be because there's a gray area. I think it'll only be like egregious behavior only that's going to cause
Hopefully,
those kind of problems. We'll see because that's going to be unautomated anyway, so it'll have to be like manual bans. So I imagine
yeah,
it will only be the worst people that get reported, in every raid for abusing other people and all this kind of stuff. I can't imagine that it'll really matter for most people. Yeah, yeah. If you're blasting, I don't even know what out of the speaker. I mean, I really hope, right? Because this
let's get the juicy stuff. Come on, let it out.
I really hope that they implement it in such a way that the audio just instantly cuts off. Because sometimes people do that anyway, and like maybe you won't report them or whatever.
Yeah.
I don't know. Like maybe they'll monitor people playing music. I don't know. But if the audio cuts off instantly as soon as you die, that genuinely is like a catalyst for hilarious moments. Because
Oh
there's
yes.
a game that I played before, and I think there's in quite a few games like this. But is Mordhau like that as well? I think Mordhau's like that too. There was a game before that I played called I know why I say played. It's called Hold Fast Nations at War, and I got badgered into buying it by a friend, and it was just like a ridiculous game about you had like a musket and you could fire one shot, and then it took you like a minute and a half to reload the gun and stuff. It was like ridiculous. It was stupid, but you could turn up as like a drummer or like a flute person and play all these like various songs. But as soon as you died, like the music just instantly cut off. And that had
Oh,
like
that's
proximity
great.
VoIP, and it was, oh my God, some of it was so funny, man. Honestly, it was so funny. Oh God, yeah, it was just like, hilarious. And people were like playing like people like stand around in a big circle and not even like bother fighting. There's like a quarter of the servers just like stood around like playing music and playing stuff out of the VoIP and things. And then someone comes in like playing like a really like great like battle tune kind of thing like through the VoIP, and then they just get like cannoned and it just like instantly stops. Oh god, it's a good time. So as much as I know that they're going to try and stop people from not abusing or whatever, like some of the moments that are going to come from this are going to be truly hilarious. They are going to be truly hilarious, some of them, which, yeah, immersion breaking, whatever, I know. But like, I'm here for it. I'm actually here for it. In the circumstances in which case it's going to be, it will be good. Because it won't be all the time. Most people won't be doing this.
Yeah.
It's just going to make for some really good clips for like once in a blue moon when it ends up working out. So I don't think it's going to ruin the game or anything. I really don't. But there'll be some really funny moments that I think will be worth it, because I don't think most people will really use it most of the time. If I'm perfectly honest, like after a month, I don't think people will use it like continuously. Maybe I'm going to be completely wrong about this. Maybe people use it all the time, but a lot of the time you just don't get in that kind of like, I don't know, that kind of interaction zone, or it'll just be people kind of like not trolling each other, but just kind of like being, baiting other people, and then one of them will die, and then that'll be it.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of different things I could see. Like I could see, like let's just say you're a hatchet runner, and some guy shoots at you, doesn't kill you, and you're just like trash talking him. Like, come on, bro, I'm a hatchet. Like, don't kill me, don't kill me. And then like, I don't know, something, depending on who you are, you may decide to kill him anyways. And you may decide to not kill him, but it's just like, it is sort of like there's going to be a lot of testosterone.
I think so, yeah.
Yeah,
So.
it's just how it goes, because it's a competitive environment, right? You're competing for loot, each other's loot, exactly, or the loot on the map. There's resources to be had. You get really tense. Things get really stressful, and then it's like, God, this happens all the time. To me, I get in a really tense situation, and then it may be like a 15-minute affair, and then it finally resolves, and I'm the winner, and it's just like that testosterone just floods in. It's just like it's crazy, and it's like, okay, let me settle down a little bit. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, even like the chillest of people in that moment, especially like if you die or whatever, most people are just like, oh god, you have like 5 seconds of just like fury or just like anger or whatever it is. A lot of people get that even when they're super nice people, because it is just so stressful and intensive. And I just like, I said this before, but I just swear to God, I hope that they make sure that the audio cuts off after you die. Like, none of this like, the audio just carries on. You can hear them running over to you and like start looting you, right? Because that happens now, and I really, really don't. That's going to be the single most tilting thing of all time. If you can continue to be spoken at after you're dead for like 3 seconds,
about that. Yeah,
that's going to be infuriating, because it's just going to be like, GG crowd, get wrecked, and then it's just going to fade out, and it's gonna that will suck. That will be more rage inducing than most of the game. Honestly, I think that would actually make some people like not play. I think if that's if it does go like that,
that's salt on the wound right there.
I hope that all the VoIP just gets instantly cut off as soon as you die. Like, it has to. It just, even before the screen's faded to black, as soon as your health bar is 0, no audio anymore. Not from other players, anyway. I really, really, really hope that that's the case, because, yeah, it'll be bad. I did actually think about something the other day, which I hadn't really considered before with VoIP. And that was about how sometimes, like, if I'm just playing on my own offline, because people do come and say afterwards, like, oh, I saw you on this map, or you killed me on this map, or I killed you on X map, whatever. And it's like, it's happening more often. It doesn't happen that much, but it happens more often, and people are just like, oh, that's kind of funny, this guy makes YouTube videos, he killed me or I killed him. And I was like, oh, I wonder actually, because it does sometimes make me conscious about like some of the kits that I run, because I'm like, I don't want to be like caught in public like exit camping or anything, like like it's kind of a weird like psychological thing where it's like,
I see what you're saying. So you're like you're like offline streaming, and like hypothetically you're extract camping, and then some other like personality recognized you, and it's like,
not even that, just random people in the community, anybody just being like, oh my god, I can't believe he's doing that offline. Like, it's the thought has definitely crossed my mind before. And like with VoIP, I wonder whether some people might like, you might get like recognized in game. I don't know, it might be kind of strange, especially people who are much bigger than me. It's like, would VoIP be kind of strange? Like, if I heard, we wouldn't be playing on the same servers, but if I heard someone like Jesse or something, I'd immediately know it was him. And that'd be pretty nuts. Can you imagine like you're like VoIPing with somebody and then it's just like landmark chats back and you're like, oh my God, like, I'm going to die.
Yeah. I mean, chances are they probably, if they use voice, they'll probably change their voice or have a voice changer because it
Maybe.
just, yeah, it just like it kind of ruins whatever experience they're trying to go for, unless they're okay with the experience, the dynamics changing. Like, could you imagine like
Yeah.
the whole raid, everyone's just in dorms, just messing around because landmarks in dorms, and they're like not killing. Like it'd be really cool and unique. I don't know if that's what. Yeah, but I it's interesting because I feel like we could all use a little bit of that feeling that you're describing because I feel like if people were held accountable for the things they said, like let's just use VoIP as an example, more often because you're just a name, you're
Mm,
anonymous, right? So like, and I know we all value our privacy and things, but I think there's a good trade off there, having some accountability and yeah, I don't know because it's always funny when like some of this drama stuff can come up with like video games, like different personalities coming up, like it's always interesting. I can't I don't think there's been anything with Tarkov related, but um yeah, that's all I'll say. It's always interesting how that stuff plays out.
yeah. Yeah. No, it is. It is. It is. It is. It really is. Ah, yeah. Well, I was going to, I said, I mentioned before, the last time you wanted maybe to talk about um the kind of what was it like the card games thing that I did.
Oh yeah,
Uh,
yeah. Let's talk about that poker video.
yeah, because was kind of interesting one, and you asked me about it last time, and we sort of ran out of time a bit.
Hmm.
Um, and yeah, it's a funny one because I think I mentioned it before, saying like I've been wanting to do this, like make the
Yeah.
parallels, whatever, and I've like finally got around to doing it. And as I said to like, there's quite a few people who commented on the video and like asked me quite some questions about it and stuff. And we're just like, oh, this is like a bit random and that kind of thing. And I was like, yeah, I knew it was probably not going to get that many clicks because it's like something completely off the wall. But like, I just wanted to
Sure.
make it so long that I was going to go through with it. And it actually ended up being like slightly harder to do than I originally intended. Um, but I thought it was interesting just because like even though it's not necessarily the most, if you're like looking at Hunt Showdown on Tarkov, or like Squad and Tarkov, or whatever. There's like clear, defined links across. But this is like more. This is more like tangential and more like thought
Hmm.
process, and it's not. It doesn't relate like it doesn't like map one to one between the two. But it's kind
Sure.
of like there's a similar kind of broad philosophy, and like a lot of that was about um mainly about like kit picking because some people were talking to me as well about I made some analogies with like close quarters fighting and like metagaming and like trying to like outsmart people, that kind of thing, but a lot of it's um about the just the probabilities and like like picking your kit and deciding like who you might be playing against depending on where you're going and that kind of thing. And that was sort of more what I was trying to get at than anything else. And it's like you've got like the context of the wipe and then like the spectrum of players that you might be fighting, and then like that sort of range of players shifts up or down the kind of kittedness curve depending on where you're going. If you're going to just customs in general and you're going anywhere and you're not going to dorms, you might fight this subset of players. If you're going to labs, you're going to fight this subset of players. If you're
Yeah.
going into reserve and you're going down into the basementy bit, then you're going to fight this set of players. And that was kind of the main point that I wanted to get across, was like that sort of framework and mentality around, what's the average and also the range of people that you're going to be playing against with what kits, because then that really drives. It's like, why don't you bring AP ammo at the beginning of the wipe? Well, because no one's running good armor. And then why at the end of the wipe don't you run 9 mil? Well, because it doesn't go through most armor and it's not even that good at doing flesh most of the time unless you're bringing rip or something. But
Hmm.
um, it's just that kind of thing, because it's like people intuitively do that, but it's like what exactly why, like boiling down why do you do that, and to try and formalize a little bit more in that we're trying to make the choice that like maximizes our chances of survival against the majority of kids. It's like, yeah, if you come up against somebody wearing level 6 and an ult in, then sometimes you might just lose. But that's okay, because losing in that scenario doesn't necessarily mean that you've made the wrong decision with your kit. It just means that you ran into that 10% chance of situations where you just lose anyway.
Yeah.
Because you minimize, like trying to minimize your. I've spoken about this before, actually. This is like a little bit rambly, but like this is also similar to the economics argument, where it's like you can run a kit that is like min-maxed for economy and
Mhm.
makes you the most money, or you can run a kit that is designed for survival rate. And those two things are completely different, actually. I think that's what a lot of beginners of Tarkov don't necessarily realize, in that like maximizing your survival rate and maximizing your like money making potential are actually two completely different things, because maximizing your survival rate often actually costs a lot of money and isn't economic to run over and over and over again unless you're incredibly good. Whereas running something that's more budget, often you get like most of the bang for your buck by spending half, if not less, of the cash, which means you don't need to be like, yeah, you can be way less successful, but because of the way that Tarkov ends up working, you end up making a ton more money.
Would
So
it be fair to say one is maximizing your survival, the other is minimizing your losses?
sort of, yeah. Kind of, because that's part of the equation. And that's the big problem with maximizing your survival, is that when you maximizing your survival rate in Tarkov doesn't reduce your chance of dying enough to counter the extra expense that you put into your
Mm-hmm.
kit for when that moment when you do die. And that's the crux point. You know, if your survival rate normally was 50% and your survival rate with level, 200 armor across every body part, and you ended up surviving 99.9% of the time, then it would make sense. But that's not the way it works in EFT. You know, even if you're running the thickest kits and you're an extremely good player, your survival rate is still probably only like 70%. And so that 20% jump, it's just not enough to counter those 30% of times when you do die, as opposed to 50% running something more regular.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, and look, it was interesting. It was interesting to do. I like thinking kind of more yeah, tangentially sometimes, about trying to bring in like concepts from other places, because that's when you occasionally you find some interesting gems and other
Yeah.
interesting ways of thinking about stuff, that's breaks you out of like the mold of whatever you were doing previously, which I always find kind of cool. It's like there's so many parallels between so many things that even don't seem to be the same at
Mm-hmm.
first, but they end up actually having lots of random bits of crossover, even just in terms of thought process, decision making. If you're problem solving in one area, then like generalist problem solving in across the board just helps when you come against something new, even if it's a totally different type of thing. You're like, okay, well, how do I think about this? And if you have a good framework in general for thinking about stuff, then it's like, okay, well, you like break stuff down into, it's kind of like, okay, fundamentally, what's actually happening here? Like, what's important within this system that we're shown. And that's the kind of stuff that I like anyway. It's like, I think it's what I said before about the dailies. In some ways, just being told like, go kill 60 scavs wherever, I'm a bit more like, well, I could go and do anything. So like, what am I supposed to do? Whereas when you get like really hemmed down into something, like Jaeger tasks with tremor, headshot, you know, that kind of thing. It's like you really have to like play within the rules to go, okay, what exactly am I going to do? Sometimes having more freedom makes it more complicated.
Makes the choice harder. Yeah.
Yeah, it makes choices harder, because then you're not
You
like
have so
hemmed in.
many
But
choices.
yeah, no, exactly. No, I used to play. I actually used to play quite a lot of poker. I played a lot of poker at university, but mostly online. I didn't really like doing it in person because it takes a very very long time, and it's a probability game at the end of the day.
Hmm.
And so if you have an edge of 3% or something, or 5%, you have to play actually an incredible number of hands before the ups and downs turn into, it's like win lose win lose win lose win lose whatever, and then like you have to zoom out so far before you actually see the trend line, um, which is pretty crazy. And like in person, your win rate has to be a lot higher actually to make it worthwhile, or you have to be playing like bigger stakes. And that's why online a lot of people play like multiple tables. So I used to play 4, which is
Oh,
actually not
really?
that many. Yeah, it's not even that many because it's actually a lot of downtime. It's like if you get a hand and you just don't want to play it and you fold and that's it. You're just waiting for the next hand.
Hmm.
People are like betting, whatever, and you're just like sat there doing nothing. So you do get situations where like there's you've got a good hand on like multiple tables. That can happen, but it's like not it's not common enough to like not make it worthwhile. Like the people who are just like on full autoplay can play like 12 tables or something, but I find that's just completely insane. Um, and so like 4 is like a reasonable number for me to be able to still keep track of stuff and actually think about what's happening. Um, but it was a fascinating thing. I got just kind of bored of it eventually. But like some of the lessons from that definitely read across to EFT and things like tilting and having things that are annoying and you get like frustrated by some guy who's like clearly not very good, but just gets lucky a few times. Like that can really break you and make you play really badly. Like I think that was one thing that did actually help quite a bit coming to Tarkov was I've already experienced those levels of tilt before with
Hmm.
that, and so it's kind of like okay, like I recognize these emotions, I know what this is, and already developed like a system to deal with it because again, it's like it's about real loss. It's the same thing as in EFT. It's not real money, but you've spent your time getting the stuff, and especially earlier on in your Tarkov career, it feels like a proper loss to lose the good stuff that you've spent time building up, and you're not as comfortable with like making cash or whatever. And so, again, I think it's something I said in the video. It's like sitting there like watching like your total going down is like so unhealthy for your like mental state for decision making. You end up just making some really crappy decisions doing that kind of thing. And it's the same in Tarkov. Even now, sometimes like going in super geared, and I'm just like, oh, do I want to take this fight? Blah, blah, blah. Like I can feel it occasionally.
Hmm.
It's definitely not gone. Like you just
Yeah.
have to suppress those emotions down. Because like if I'm running around factory with like 6B3TM and a Saiga 12 on it, I literally do not care. Like it's like I'm playing Scav, and my fights are a lot easier, honestly. And it's partly because when you die, you're also just like, yeah, okay, whatever, another one, right? Get in for another one. Whereas like, yeah, even now, like if I go in with like a big old kit,
Hmm.
there's like that tension just like it creeps in, it creeps in, and it's hard to counter. So
Yeah.
there's I think it's that thing of just like you're when you're risking something, it changes your mentality, and it's very very hard to be completely passive about it and just like control all of that in your own
Yeah.
head. Like it's very very difficult. Um, it's part of what makes it interesting though. So that's
For
the problem, right?
sure.
You don't necessarily want to get rid of that completely and just become like a mechanical robot because then like part of the joy of the game is lost a little bit. So I don't know. I don't know. No, it was fun. I've been meaning to make it for a long time, and yeah, it's definitely not going to be my most popular video ever. But I wanted to
Hmm.
do it, and it's finally out there, and I enjoyed making it. And I enjoyed making the analogies. So for those who did watch it, I hope you found it. I hope you found it fun because I had fun doing it. But yeah, it was a bit of an off the wall one.
Yeah, I'm glad you got to do that because I know stuff like that is it's a really good feeling to be like, I've wanted to do this for a long time and I've finally done it and it's out there and you can sort of like check that box.
Yeah.
Which I enjoyed the video. I've never really played a lot of poker or Texas Hold'em,
Mm.
but I can totally see the parallels between the two. And hearing you talk about some of these emotions and feelings you get, like tilt and these decisions you make, I'm constantly brought back to Dota 2 ranked matchmaking,
Very
where
similar.
where you go on like a lose streak, man, and it's literally just pixels. It's literally just a
Mhm.
number. But we as humans assign some type of value to that. And then it's like, God, I'm on a losing streak. Like just like I'm omega tilted and like I just need to win one more game. And then I see someone picks like, I don't know, Ursa off lane. I'm like, GG's, bro, we lost. Like, you know what I mean? It's just I'm having a meltdown, it's great. It's great.
That's the crazy thing about Dota 2 as well, is that like as you say, like it's not even just like pixels in the Tarkov way, because there is in some sense a threat in Tarkov. Like, yeah, it's just pixels, whatever, it's just a game, fine. That's all well and good. But like in Tarkov, the threat is like if I die enough, with
Mm-hmm.
these good kits, I will
Mm-hmm.
not be able to buy this stuff
Yeah.
again.
But
Right. And there's that. Whereas
potentially,
in Dota 2, yeah, potentially, it's probably not going to happen,
sure.
probably, but I think it's very unlikely that most players actually go broke unless you're quite new or you're really aggressive with your kits. Um,
But that is the real fear, because I think that's one of the things I was afraid of, is like, I
mm,
do not want to go, I don't want to be able to play this game. You know what I mean? So yeah,
yeah.
I think there's a real
Whereas
part of that.
whereas in Dota 2, it's interesting because it's like that is just like a number. It doesn't
Yeah.
interfere with your ability to play in any way,
Mm-hmm.
no matter how low that number goes. But in Dota, that number is intrinsically linked to your like self-esteem and
Yeah.
your self-worth as to how good you are, right?
Yeah.
Which in some ways is worse.
Yes.
It is in
Oh yeah.
Tarkov too, because it's like your ruble count, right? It's like
Sure.
as much as people always say, and I agree with
Or
them,
survival
ruble
rate
count
even.
doesn't matter. Survival rate doesn't matter. It
Mm-hmm.
depends on how you play. If you like, if you're practicing labs only, you're going to lose a lot more money than if you're like scuttling around interchange, whatever. And the ruble count and your survival rate will be much higher if you're doing
Yeah.
safe raids. And that's like, yeah, that's fine. That's prudent. It's good for making money. But that means you can't necessarily judge how good a player is just by looking at their statistics and looking at their ruble count, right?
Mm-hmm.
Which is one thing. But you can't help but go, well, if someone has more money, then they probably are. Like you make some inference, right? And so you're like, so
Yeah.
this guy's got XYZ amount of cash. This they're probably okay. But yeah, in Dota, it's just like purely like this number represents your skill. This number has had 25 removed from it, and you're like, no, it's like
Yeah.
especially when you don't feel like it should have been, and you're like, I played great, and I went 17-3, and the rest of the team just like all bought back one by one, and then we got like tier 3 towered, and then we all died. It's just like infuriating. It's genuinely infuriating. There's so much psychology. Honestly, there's so much
Yes.
psychology.
Yes. I wanted to add, this will be the last tangent on Dota 2, is that at one point I was trying to hit like 4K MMR was like my
Mhm.
goal, and I was losing my marbles, of course. So I was like, I bought like subscriptions like Game Leaps, just like this like video coaching thing, and like, here's how to play this hero a certain way, and here's how to get E free MMR. And then eventually I got coaching from just like a high ranked player that streamed also.
Mhm.
And it was just like groundbreaking how just like what my issue wasn't necessarily a skill thing or a mechanical thing. Like sure, those things can be improved and refined,
Yeah.
or even just like a knowledge thing, but it was more just like a mentality thing, because I was like, it was really toxic, Giga. Like it was just like I said, like literally someone would pick offlane Ursa and I would just like lose my mind, dude. Because it just, I would, whatever reason, I would just think like, are you trying to take away my 25 points? Like it just
Yeah.
felt
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
personal, or I made it so personal. And it was kind of just amazing how a mentality shift was gained me so much MMR, and I was able to
Mm.
hit that goal. And I don't know, that's so interesting. Maybe there's some application there of like gear fear, how if you can sort of like strip away assigning value to these things and just realize that, hey, it's going to go away at some point. It's, I might as well just let it happen naturally, how it's intended to be, some PMC taken off me. It's just like, I don't know. But no, it's tying it back to Tarkov. I loved how the analogy was like built around that core. I don't know if you call it like game theory or what, but it's sort of like how it is. You sort of are like anteing up your bets on like your raids and whatnot. Sort of like that analogy, like, oh, I got a pretty good hand, so I'm gonna like bet this gear, or however you want to look at it. It's interesting, and then it's like, since the win condition in Tarkov is survival, right? That's how you sort of like get your payout,
Yeah.
and I guess
Is it?
in, yeah, go ahead.
It's kind of weird. It's kind of weird in Tarkov because it's like in card games, your hand determines your win probability, which then you like
Hmm.
bet on. Whereas like in EFT, it's kind of like if you're going to make that analogy across, which is why it's interesting to think of like this is why I like thinking of games through the lens of other games, because it's just like, okay, well, how do you map that game onto this game? And it's like not one for
Right.
one, but it gives you some
Sure.
interesting like ideas. Whereas like because in EFT, it's like, well, your wager is actually intrinsically linked to the strength of your hand, right? If you were going to separate those two things, you say, okay, well,
Yes.
in gambling games and card games, those two things are actually separated. So you've got like, here's your hand, which is the one thing, and then you've
Mhm.
like got, okay, well, and now I bet on my hand as a second thing, and I'm betting my hand against like the relative strengths of all my opponents or what I think that they have, broadly speaking.
Yeah.
Whereas in EFT, it's kind of like those two things are combined into one
They're
because it's just like
linked. Yeah.
I get to choose the hand that I go into game with, but the best hands don't have as good a win rate against the worst hands as they do in poker, for example. And so it's like, well, you basically like kind of pay up for the better cards, sort of, but you can still lose against worse ones. Because then there's the
Yeah.
skill element as well on top of that, right? Because then there's like, in
Yes.
poker, there's nothing else that you can do. The cards are the cards, and that's that. Whereas then in EFT, it builds upon that with another layer of like some guy who's just got godly aim and just ketters you.
Right.
It's like just the way it is. Um, so it's kind of like there's these extra things um, that don't necessarily translate, and so it ends up adding this like these other elements of risk that you have to try to factor into like what you're doing. And that's the same thing. It's like it's a weird one because I've always thought about this, right? It's like having the better kit in Tarkov does increase your survival rate, but only when you know what you're doing. Because if somebody was like completely brand new, goes in with a slick and exfil helmet or whatever, they're just going to die anyway. They're going to die anyway. That's just
Yeah.
the way it is. And it's kind of that thing of like, I've never been able to quite parameterize this for myself, and it's something that I've sort of thought about a few times, but never come to like an adequate conclusion really, which is that like the way that I normally describe it, and I've said this in a few places, is that you scale your kits as you scale your experience and you scale your confidence. Right, those things all kind of
Yes.
go together,
Yes.
um, because you only really benefit from the extra kit when you get a bit better. And this is kind of the problem with Tarkov and how it's so brutal at the start as well, because the extra kit won't help you because you have no knowledge. But because you have no knowledge, you're going to die even faster anyway. So if you do get somebody out of position or whatever, they've got better kit on, so you might just die anyway, even if you had the good play or something. So you kind of have to like you have to just like scale those things as you go,
Mhm.
and then you know if you're then picking a better kit against somebody who's the same experience as you, then yes, it gives you an advantage. But when the skill difference is too wide and the experience difference is too wide, then the kit doesn't help. It's like it's an added factor that sort of like tweaks the odds in your favor, but doesn't determine the outcome. Especially now, actually, I think especially now with the way that leg matter's gone and stuff like this. Like I've really enjoyed using Magnum Buck, and it absolutely slaps. And there's a whole bunch of other people who are using it, seen it in various videos. Talked about one last week with
Mhm.
with
Vaughn.
Von, and who was he playing with? I don't remember.
Swamp.
Swamp, that was it. Yeah, Von and Swamp. And it's like it's brutal. And I've been hit by them with wearing crazy armor, been hit by them with scabs, and just like yeah, the flesh damage is real. So
Yeah.
it's quite nice. I sort of like this rock paper scissors thing that's going on. I actually think it's kind of interesting where it's like the meta armor has its weak point, which is the stomach right now.
Yes.
And it's like you beat so like the level 6 armor gets beaten by leg matter,
Mhm.
which gets beaten by like routine rounds because they'll just like kill you real quick. Like if someone's got an M4 or like 762 VP is probably a bad example because it's just extremely good against everything. But if someone's got an M4 with like 55A1 in it,
Mhm.
and you're running, I don't know, yeah, the Saiga with like Magnum Buck, like you better be pretty sharpish with your leg shots, and you better hit them both. Otherwise, you're going to get just thoraxed because if you're not wearing like you're wearing level 4 or something, it's just going to whistle straight through. And it's in some ways it is easier. And those guns are more versatile too. Like if you're not at point blank, it's
Right.
very hard to get the kill and stuff like that. So it's like that rock paper scissors. You got like level 6 slick gaming. Then that gets beaten by the leg meta, who gets beaten by the guy running 55A1, who gets beaten by the slick guy. And it's like
Yeah.
kind of a bit of a triangle. Like it
Yeah.
doesn't quite work, but it's close enough.
It's
It's close
there
enough.
ish. Yeah.
Yeah, because it's like even to be fair, even 762 BP won't go through a level 6 piece of armor in
Right.
one
Oops.
shot,
Sorry.
which it definitely shouldn't. It shouldn't most of the time.
Mhm.
I mean, chat's saying KS23 will beat a meta M4 anyway. any day within 20 meters, which is why I said Magnum buckshot, because I don't want to talk about the KS because it kind of bypasses it. But that's again another thing. It's like it's outside of that rock paper scissors of like triangle, and that's more in terms of like the KS will beat the M4 at 20 meters, but at 50 meters the M4 wins. At 100 meters the M4 wins. It's like it's got a very, very specialized role, which is the reason why it wins there. And that's even
I think that's
10 meters. Yeah, Magnum Buck also should probably win. Like I don't mind that. It gives you like it gives you even things like ACP rip in the vector. It's like here's a situation where you win in a particular scenario, but that it's not like generalistic. And that's the thing about the ARs, about like M9 M5, about 55A1, about BP and the mutant or the 103 or something. Is it just like it's not the best in every scenario, but it's good in most of them in general. So it's like, yeah, point blank against a shotgun, it's not the best possible thing that could be, and it shouldn't be. And I think that's actually fine in most ways. That's actually all right. If you want to make some trade-offs to like cut bits out of your efficacy of your kit, you should get rewarded somewhere else for that. It's like skill points. That M4's got like 7 in every category. Whereas like some of the DMRs are like 10 on sniping, but then they're like 4 at point blank, and it's like it's that kind of thing. Whereas the KS has got 20 at point blank and then 0 on the other 2, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
And so I think that's kind of fine. I think that's kind of fine. So yeah, it's interesting kind of how these like loops work.
We talked a little bit last week about flesh, like armor hit zone boxes and whatnot. And it's actually an interesting discussion. If you haven't heard it, go check it out. But I think that if they make, let's just say armor becomes less valuable, the triangle sort of like crumbles and like everything's kind of normalized for like hitting people's exposed armor parts potentially. You know what I'm getting at? Like right now you do sort of have like you're saying the KS is like, maybe it's like 10 and up close. And it's like like it gets god tier in that situation. Whereas the M4 is like kind of like 7 across the board. Well, maybe like with like armor hit zones, maybe it'd be like 7 across the board, but flesh damage, it's an 8. You know what I mean? And like kind of like all the guns follow that trend in a way. I don't know.
I think this is the problem. It just devalues AP, which
because you trade for AP, you trade damage for pin. Typically, that's the trend.
Yeah. So if you put the armor plates in, then leaving everything as it is, AP just becomes like it just becomes a lot weaker because it's just not really necessary.
Yeah, I think probably BP would be really good because BP is kind of that sweet spot of like high flesh damage and like high.
Because it shoots up Storix anyway, regardless.
Yeah, so it's like because like 55A1, I don't think can 2-tap flesh. Maybe it can. I don't know. It'll be interesting. I kind of speculate that as we're saying, like M995, for example, probably will not be that valuable. Even if money was a no.
905 is 40 damage at the moment, so that's the 3-tap for the thorax. 55A1 is 46, so it technically does 92 if you hit someone with no armor. So it does 2-tap with no armor, but I believe, but I'm not tested, with the armor mitigation, if you're against something that's level 6, I don't think it will hit for 46. Because this is the funny thing that I've seen asserted many times, but I would love to test actually and see exactly what happens. Because we've all heard the kind of the broad anecdote, but it's just I'm very interested. There's actually Veritas mentioned at some point that he's got like a full ballistics model working because it's kind of like how he ended up figuring out there was the issues, or someone came to him as well and told him there were issues with the way certain like damage things were coming through. But I'd be very interested to see exactly like how that works for the armor. I've said this for ages, but it's like if you have 55A1 going through like level 5, what's the damage mitigation? I'm not entirely sure. If you have the going through level 6, is it a lot more?
Going through, you mean pinning or you mean
penning? So it's like 55A1 does 46 damage, but it doesn't when it pens, even when it pens.
Yeah, there's some damage loss.
So if it's going through like level 3, I think it just does the full damage. If it's going through level 4, maybe a little bit of the damage is mitigated, which is the reason why level 4 is quite good most of the time, because it mitigates a bit of damage. I don't really know. I don't know how much it is because no food says like, oh, it's roughly 20%, right? But that depends on what armor it is and what round it is.
Yeah.
Against level 5, I imagine a good chunk of the damage is taken away, and you'll need at least 3 shots, even if they all penned. And then level 6 just doesn't really go through. 46 is not really enough to go through level 6. So you need to hit them a lot of times and get the damage down before it'll go through. But even if you did get a pen, how much does that mitigate it by? I've never seen anything like numerical done on that, really. I've seen like, not anecdotes, but I've seen specific tests done on certain rounds, and that kind of thing. But yeah, I'd be interested. It's just it's time consuming. That's the thing. It's just time consuming and difficult to put together. And I've said it before, and I don't have time to test it right now. But it's something I'm going to do eventually. I'm going to do eventually because I'll be fascinated to know, because I think it's important. You know, it's like when we actually looked previously at 55A1 versus the MCXAP, whatever it's called, Blackout AP, where you know the bit of extra damage.
Yes, I remember that.
Makes all the difference, because quite possibly Blackout AP with its 55 damage is 2-tapping Thorax, because even if you get a 20% damage mitigation, then you end up taking off. It's then very, very close to the threshold, to be fair. But if you're taking off like 15%, then you end up 2-tapping them anyway. Whereas with 55A1, you don't. So that's where I think it becomes potentially quite important, which is why it's interesting. But yeah, unfortunately difficult to test, or just time consuming to test. No, it's not actually necessarily that difficult, but as long as you control for things like fragments and stuff, and you make sure that you're not including fragments by accident, and you have enough armors to test it with, then yeah, it's one of those things that you just have to go into raid, and you have to sit in the corner, and you have to not get killed by someone else, and all that kind of stuff. It'd be nice to do offline raids with other people for that thing. I know offline raids aren't necessarily the be all and end all, but for the base game mechanics that don't really change that much, then the builds should be similar enough to work. So yeah, I don't know. That would actually be a really cool thing for offline raids, to be able to test some of the armor stuff much more easily in like a controlled circumstance, where you bring in a huge amount of like armor, whatever, and you just like drop them all on the floor, and then you like go through the proper tests and that kind of stuff. It'd be neat. But yeah, until then, we just continue to speculate.
Just did a quick simulation with 55A1 and Class 2 armor and Class 4, the 6B3TM. Is that the rat rig?
Yeah.
And then a P.A.K.A because it was just easiest to find. But it is 3 shots to kill the 6B.
The level 4.
Yeah, and it's 2.
How much damage does it do per shot?
I cannot get that information.
Oh, it doesn't tell you?
Not that I'm aware. It's basically, you take two subjects, and you say, this subject has this gun, this subject has this ammo, and they're shooting here, and they're wearing this, and then you can basically a DPS calculator for like who will win out of the two.
Okay, it's not like shot by shot.
There is but
only the armor ability, isn't it?
Yes, it doesn't do well. Yeah, it doesn't.
Does it tell you the damage? Does it tell you the actual player damage?
There is one, but that's only for basically seeing if they're naked, like how the damage distributes. Like if I shoot them in the stomach with this ammo and it's black, and then
it doesn't have the combination of the things. It doesn't have the armor and the health mechanics, whatever. Because that's the thing. It's like, okay, well, if it's 3 shots, then it's quite clearly reducing it by, well, what is it? It says should be doing 92, but you actually have to hit 85 instead. So it's reducing it by at least 8%. At least.
Which, yeah, I could see that.
Which kind of makes sense, because 55A1 is 46 pen, right? And I've said before in my things, like the rules of thumb work of like level, like 40 pen to pen level 4, 50 pen to pen level 5, 60 pen to pen level 6, because that's roughly where the 50% threshold of penetration occurs, around that value, very roughly. It's actually usually very slightly under. I think it's like 37 and like 49 and 59 or something, I think, is where the 50% pen threshold is. So like 40, 50, 60 is actually like a relatively safe bet, because you're like 60% plus normally.
Yeah.
Because it's like FMJ out of the MP7 is 40 pen, right? And the 50% threshold is 37. So 3 pen more, like you're penning like 80% of the time. So the MP7
Mhm.
absolutely destroys the rat rig, which is one of the reasons why it's so good, because the FMJ is so cheap. Lots and
Yeah.
lots of people are running level 4 armor. I think someone put a poll up, I think, actually saying who's running what armor. I can't remember who put it up on YouTube. And most people said level 4, and I thought people were going to be saying level 5. Most people run level 4 because even experienced players run level 4 because they think, well, I don't want to die to pistols, I don't want to die to shotguns, I don't want to die to any of that rubbish. I don't want to die to PS out of 7.62. It basically protects you
Yeah.
against the entire class of scav weaponry and low level people, and but the good rounds are going to go through anyway. So whatever. Why class 5? And I see that logic a lot, but it means that the MP7 needs everybody alive because it's like,
It's really good for
90% pen
that.
chance.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's really good. And with the rate of fire, it rips people.
And
But that kind of makes sense to me.
to your point, I think like the cheapest class 5 you can get is the AACP barter. And it's
Yeah,
around like 100, like we'll say 110, 120,000
just
rubles,
insane
which
value.
is double the cost of the rat rig. And you're only, what do you really get with that? You reduce BT, maybe FMJ a bit.
Yeah,
BP can
so
55A1 gets slightly reduced, like maybe it adds an extra shot or two. BP is a dice roll. Maybe they two tapped you. Maybe they take 4 shots or 3 shots. I forget the math, but it's like you're paying a 100% increase in your costs for like 5% increase in like the calibers that you negate essentially. Like it's such a small incremental jump there. I understand why some people run.
I get it too. I think it's I don't know. It's funny. It's like I do think I see both sides of the argument, really. I see both
Hmm.
sides of the argument. If you can get it that cheaply, personally, I think it's worth it. Honestly, I actually do. Just because of the rounds in that category range, really what we're talking about, because I've talked about this at length. So this is like right in my wheelhouse. But you go from BT being the and then
Hmm.
37 pen being the 50% uh, threshold to BP with like 47 pen being the threshold. And inside that gap, you've got BT, you've got SS190 for the MP for the
Yeah.
P90,
Yeah.
you've got AP20 slugs,
Okay.
you've got FMJ for the MP7, you've got M80, you've got LPS for the Mosin things, you've got APM 366, M62 rounds, the old 7N1 round, which is now called um, PS for like SVD. You've got Blackout AP and M855A1 that are in there, SP6, and then 762 BP where you have a 50% rather than it
Hmm.
just instantly kills you. So I think it's difficult. I think going from 50k to 200k, I probably agree. Going from 50k to like 110, I think it's much closer to being like fairly priced, if that makes sense. Like I don't necessarily think it's like, oh yeah, it's obvious that it's worth it. But I think it's a much, much harder decision at that pricing point.
Hmm.
I think it's much harder because not only is it like those rounds, but also like the other crappy rounds will do less damage to the
They'll
armor
take
as well.
more. Yeah. Your armor
So
will
it'll take more hits
last.
to you. So yeah, so
Yeah.
it's like a Patreon tier, right? It's just like, oh, and then at level 5, you get protection against these rounds and all the stuff from all the other tiers, It's like
Yeah.
it's
That's funny.
it's that kind of thing. So if you're getting shot at with like AP 6.3, right, they're just not going through. They have to shoot you so much to make it go through because of the way the durability thing. There's actually like an interesting, like one of the most insightful comments I had on any of my videos ever was on the class 5 versus class 6 like armor penetration thing that I did, like the big one, the big deep
Hmm.
dive into pen that I did, and me basically saying like if you get a level 6 to 40% durability, then it acts like a class 5. And somebody like, and I genuinely hadn't thought of this, and someone pointed out and was just like, well, the class 6 is clearly a lot worse than the class 5 because if you take one more shot, the relative proportionate amount of damage the level 6 takes compared to its overall health is way higher than the level 5 at full. So level 5 at 100% versus level 6 at 40%. The level 6 takes 10% damage. It goes from 40 pen to 30 pen. So it's 40 durability to 30 durability, whereas the level 5 goes from 100 to 90. So the level 5 is still nearly like a level 5, but the class 6 going from 40 to 30 has lost like 25% of its durability, and its durability will go down to 0 much faster than level 5 will. So it's clearly worse than the level 5. And I was like, actually, that's quite insightful. I hadn't really thought about that. It's like it's like saying, yeah, it is like a level 5, but it's more like the Corund or something with really low starting durability. So for that very first shot, when it's at 40%, sure, it'll act like a class 5, but it might just be zeroed immediately. So the second shot, it's just like as if you're wearing no armor.
Is that how
Whereas
that
if you're running
works?
killer,
Oh, I didn't think it scaled.
in what sense?
Say again.
In what sense? It's just as in like if you're taking like armor damage,
Mm-hmm.
you take 20 points of armor damage or something on a class 6 that's at like 40
Yeah.
durability. I mean, it depends on the overall durability of each armor, right? I'm talking like in general. But when you look at the effective durabilities, unless you're running something like the Zabralo, everything sort of sits between like 70 and like what would killer be like 140 or something. So there is there's a variability between the different effective durabilities. But imagine you choose like two pieces of armor that have the same effective durability, one's class 5, one's class 6. The class 6 one at 40%. I mean, in this case,
because it's at 40%, it's going to lose more than
it'll lose more of its protective value faster because the durability is already so low, even though on that very first single shot it acts like a class 5.
I didn't know that's
It's
how
just
that works.
it's just the durability so low already. So it's like it will scale between 0 and 40% durability, going from 0 protection to level 5 protection. Whereas the level 5 will scale from between 0 and level 5 protection from 0 to
Okay,
100.
yeah, that makes
See?
sense.
So if you took 40% damage on the level 5, that takes it to 60%. If you take 40% damage on the level 6, it takes it to naught. And that was the guy's
Yeah,
point.
I
Which I was
see.
like, actually, that makes
That
sense.
makes sense.
That makes
Yeah.
sense. So even though, like my thing is true for the very first shot,
Mm-hmm.
but in general,
That's
it all
about
depends
it.
on like
Yeah.
how much durability you've got left and blah blah. Which is like the one interesting thing about the Zabralo is that even though it has arms armor, which is normally rubbish, because that thing has extraordinary durability, you can actually take a few shots to the arms and it's fine. Like it's genuinely fine. It gets down to half health. It's still got the same effective durability as most armors, and it's still going to protect you higher than a class 5. Like that thing's legit really good. Other than the fact that it just makes you into a tank. But
It's interesting because now I could like, well, I guess this was always the case, but it's like when armor rigs comes in, there's a lot more value in like, because now you have to replace your whole armor, I guess, so now you could like replace the plate, so how will that translate in its overall durability? It's pretty interesting because you can sort of like repair your armor mid-raid and whatnot.
yeah, we'll have to see. We'll have to see. Well, you've managed to get me very, very sidetracked into talking about penetration and durability. I love it. It's my thing. But I realised we've gone on for like a really quite long
Yeah,
time.
it's been quite a long time.
Is there anything else you wanted to discuss before we wrap up this bad boy?
Yeah, so about that penetration values. Now, have you ever no,
You know how to
no.
get me. You know how to get me.
No, we should wrap it up. It's been we went quite some time. Yeah, I think that's it. I was gonna drop with the analogy, talking about the poker game and sort of like the parallels. And I was gonna be like, now how do you fit the secure container into the analogy? But that's that's a whole can of worms. We'll say that.
Some of these chips in my prison wallet,
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Anyways,
Oh,
yeah, I
cool.
guess we'll find out tomorrow what the event is, and then
Absolutely.
we'll see what the hype
Absolutely.
train does from there.
We'll see what's going on. But yeah, look, it's been a blast. I've been enjoying Tarky. It's been good fun and getting back into the factory. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
been cool. I've been enjoying it. I've been really enjoying it. Cheap Epic 55 A1 definitely helps with the enjoyment.
God.
But yeah, it's good. Having fun. I hope everyone on the of the listeners are having fun as well at the
Yeah.
moment with their daily tasks, because it's good. I think refocus the mind, and yeah, look forward to Saturday and see what it brings. Who knows? What could it be? I'm excited.
Yeah, it'll be good. It'll be good. Cool. Yeah, I guess we'll
Cool.
wrap it up there, guys. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll catch you guys next week.
Ciao, ciao.